Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UCS Liberty watching the stars through the main view screen. The exploration ship had been traveling for 3 months beyond the outer RIM territories, mapping new star systems for Earth Command. His crew of 12 was small but skilled, and they had already discovered 2 potentially habitable worlds during their mission. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at the tactical station running routine sensor sweeps while Sergeant Ben Carter checked the security protocols on his tablet. The rest of the crew was busy with their daily tasks, keeping the ship running smoothly through the empty void of space. Jake had served in the Earth Navy for 15 years before taking command of the Liberty. He knew deep space exploration was dangerous, but the rewards of finding new worlds for humanity made the risks worth taking. His crew trusted him completely, and he would do anything to keep them safe. The Liberty dropped out of faster than light travel near a yellow star with 7 planets orbiting around it. Amy immediately began scanning the system, looking for signs of life or valuable resources. The 3rd planet from the star showed promising readings with liquid water and a breathable atmosphere. Ben walked over to Jake carrying his coffee mug. He was a former Marine who had joined the exploration service after retiring from active combat duty. His job was to protect the crew from any threats they might encounter in unknown space. Jake was about to order a closer scan of the 3rd planet when Amy suddenly looked up from her console with a worried expression on her face. Her sensors were picking up something massive approaching from the edge of the star system. The readings were unlike anything in Earth's database of known alien technology. Within minutes, dozens of huge warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel all around the Liberty. Each ship was 3 times larger than the human vessel and covered in weapon systems that could turn the exploration ship into space dust in seconds. The alien ships had a dark gray hull with sharp edges and glowing red lights along their sides. They moved with perfect coordination, surrounding the Liberty in a sphere formation that left no escape route. Jake had never seen ships like these before, but he knew they were facing something far beyond human military capability. A communication signal came through the Liberty systems, but the language was completely unknown. Amy worked frantically to run the alien words through the ship's translation computer while Ben called all crew members to battle stations. The translation system finally managed to decode part of the alien message. It was a demand for immediate surrender, followed by threats of total destruction if the humans tried to resist. The aliens identified themselves as the Corvan Empire and claimed the star system belonged to them. Jake knew his small exploration ship had no chance against an entire alien fleet, but he also knew he could not simply give up without trying to protect his crew. He ordered Amy to send a message explaining that they were peaceful explorers who meant no harm and would leave the system immediately. The alien response was swift and harsh. They did not care about human intentions or peaceful missions. The Corvan Empire viewed any unauthorized presence in their territory as an act of war that demanded punishment. They would board the human ship and take the crew as prisoners. Ben quickly distributed weapons to the crew and set up defensive positions throughout the Liberty. He knew they could not win against professional alien warriors, but he would make them pay for every inch of the ship they tried to take. The first alien boarding pods slammed into the Liberty's hull, cutting through the metal like it was paper. Tall figures in advanced armor poured through the breaches, carrying energy weapons that could cut through human body armor easily. The Corvan warriors stood nearly 8 feet tall with powerful muscles and thick gray skin covered in natural armor plates. Their faces looked almost reptilian, with sharp teeth and glowing yellow eyes that showed no mercy or compassion for weaker species. Ben and his security team fought hard, using every defensive advantage they could find inside the ship. They set up crossfire positions and used the Liberty's narrow corridors to limit how many aliens could attack at once. The humans moved quickly and worked together using tactics the Corvans had never seen before. Amy coordinated the defense from the bridge while Jake tried to find some way to escape or call for help. The crew fought with determination that surprised their alien attackers, who expected quick surrender from what they saw as a weak mammalian species. The battle lasted for 2 hours, with the humans making the Corvans pay dearly for every section of the ship they captured. Several alien warriors fell to human weapons and tactics, but eventually superior numbers and technology won the day. War. Commander Thexville led the final assault on the bridge personally. He was impressed by the fierce resistance the humans had shown, but also insulted that such small creatures dared to fight against the mighty Corvan Empire. These mammals needed to learn their proper place in the galactic order. Jake was the last human standing when the bridge finally fell. He had emptied his weapon and was preparing to fight with his bare hands when Thexville ordered his warriors to take the captain alive. The alien commander wanted to study these unusual creatures before deciding their fate. The surviving crew members were gathered in the Liberty's cargo bay under heavy guard. They had lost 3 people during the fighting, but 9 humans remained alive, including Jake. Amy and Ben, the Corvans, treated their wounds but kept them chained and under constant watch. Thexville studied the human prisoners with growing interest. Most species surrendered immediately when faced with Corvan military might, but these mammals have fought like cornered predators. Their tactics were strange, and their willingness to die for each other was unusual among galactic civilizations. The war commander made his decision. These humans would be transported to Corvan Prime, where they would serve as entertainment in the grand arena. The Empire's citizens deserved to see how pathetic resistance against Corvan power ultimately proved to be. The Liberty was destroyed, and its crew loaded onto a Corvan transport ship for the journey to the Empire's capital world. Jake watched through a small window as his ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal debris. His exploration mission was over, but he sensed that something much worse was about to begin. The transport ship carrying Jake and his crew arrived at Corvan Prime after a week of travel through alien space. Through the small windows in their prison cell, the humans could see a massive world covered in dark cities and military installations that stretched across entire continents. Corvan Prime was the heart of an empire that controlled dozens of star systems through military conquest and intimidation. Every building on the planet was designed to show the power and glory of the warrior race that ruled over millions of conquered species across the galaxy. At the center of the largest city stood the Grand Arena, a huge structure that could hold over 1 million spectators. The building rose nearly a mile into the sky, with countless levels of seating surrounding a central fighting pit where captured enemies of the Empire were forced to battle for the entertainment of Corvan citizens. Jake and his crew were dragged from the transport ship in heavy chains and marched through the streets of the capital city. Thousands of Corvan civilians gathered to stare at the strange mammals who had dared to resist their military forces in battle. The Corvans were all tall and powerfully built, with gray skin and natural armor plating covering their bodies. They moved with the confidence of a species that had never known defeat, and their yellow eyes showed only contempt for the small humans walking past them in chains. Amy walked close to Jake during the march through the city streets. She had served as his tactical officer for 3 years and trusted his judgment completely. Ben stayed near the back of the group, watching for any chance to escape, even though they were surrounded by hundreds of armed guards. The human prisoners were brought before High Imperator Zekmoth in his throne room at the top of the Grand Arena. The supreme ruler of the Corvan Empire was ancient even by alien standards, and his body was covered in scars from countless battles fought during his rise to power. Zekmoth studied the humans with interest and disgust. He had conquered dozens of species during his long reign, but none had ever shown the strange fighting tactics these mammals displayed during their capture. Most civilized races fought with honor and individual courage, but the humans had worked together like a pack of hunting animals. The High Imperator announced that the humans would fight in the Grand Arena not for their freedom, but for the entertainment of his people. The event would be broadcast across the entire empire as a demonstration of what happened to those who dared resist Corvan authority. Jake tried to negotiate for the safety of his crew, but Zekmoth was not interested in bargaining with inferior creatures. The humans would face a series of increasingly difficult challenges designed to showcase their weakness and the superiority of Corvan civilization to watching audiences throughout known space. The crew was taken to holding cells beneath the arena, where they were given basic food and water, but no medical treatment for their injuries. Other prisoners from various alien species occupied nearby cells, but none would speak to the humans about what awaited them in the fighting pit above. Ben examined their prison carefully, looking for any weakness in the alien construction that might offer a chance of escape. The walls were made of some kind of metal stronger than anything humans had developed, and the energy barriers across the cell doors would kill anyone who tried to pass through them. Amy used her technical knowledge to study the alien technology around them, but found no way to disable their restraints or break through the security systems. The Corvans had been taking prisoners for thousands of years, and their methods were perfected through long experience with desperate captives. Jake gathered his crew together for a quiet meeting in the corner of their cell. He knew they were facing almost certain death in the arena, but he also knew that humans had survived impossible situations before by working together and never giving up hope. The captain explained that they should treat the arena like any other battlefield and use every advantage they could find or create. The Corvans expected them to fight with honor and individual glory like other civilized species, but humans had different ideas about what it meant to survive in hostile territory. 3 days later, the arena event was announced across Corvan Prime with great ceremony and celebration. Citizens began arriving from all over the planet to witness the humiliation of the strange mammals, who had shown such unusual resistance during their capture. The grand arena filled with over 1 million Corvan spectators who came to see the entertainment that their empire provided through the suffering of conquered enemies. Giant screens displayed images of the human prisoners while announcers described their crimes against Imperial authority. War Commander Thexville took his place in the Imperial viewing box next to High Imperator Zekmuth. He had personally led the boarding action against the human ship and was eager to see these unusual creatures broken and defeated in front of the watching crowds. Jake and his crew were given basic weapons and armor that was intentionally inferior to what their opponents would carry. The Corvans wanted to ensure that the humans would provide good entertainment before their inevitable defeat and death on the arena floor. The weapons included simple metal swords, energy pistols with limited power, and lightweight armor that would protect against minor injuries but not serious attacks. Everything was designed to make the humans appear to have a chance while actually ensuring their destruction. Ben tested the weight and balance of his assigned sword while Amy checked the power settings on her energy pistol. Both veterans knew that their equipment was barely adequate for the challenges they would face, but they also knew that humans had always found ways to make inferior tools work when survival was at stake. The arena floor itself was a complex environment with different terrain, features obstacles and hazards that could be activated by the arena controllers. Sand pits, rocky outcroppings, metal walls, and energy fields could all be used to create tactical advantages or disadvantages depending on what would provide the best entertainment. Jake studied the arena layout carefully during their brief preparation time. He had learned during his military service that understanding the battlefield was often more important than having superior weapons or equipment when facing a stronger enemy force. The crowd noise grew louder as the time for combat approached. Corvan citizens cheered and placed bets on how long the humans would survive against their first opponents. Most expected the mammals to die within minutes of entering the fighting pit. Amy felt her heart racing as the cell doors opened and guards motioned for the humans to move toward the arena entrance. She had been in combat before, but never in a situation where death was meant to be entertainment for hostile alien spectators. The 9 surviving members of the Liberty's crew walked together toward the arena floor, knowing that they were about to face challenges designed to kill them for the amusement of their enemies. Jake led the way with Ben at his side while Amy and the others followed close behind, ready to fight together as they always had. The massive gates of the grand arena opened with a grinding sound of metal against stone. Jake led his crew onto the sandy floor while 1 million Corvan spectators roared their approval from the seats rising high above them on all sides. The arena was larger than a football stadium with different sections of terrain spread across the fighting area. Rocky outcroppings provided cover while metal barriers could be raised or lowered by the arena controllers to change the battlefield layout during combat. Amy stayed close to Jake's right side, while Ben took position on his left. The other 6 crew members formed a tight group behind them, ready to move as a unit when the fighting began. They had worked together for years and knew each other's strengths and weaknesses better than family. Hi! Imperator Zekmuth stood in his viewing box, high above the arena floor. His voice boomed through speakers that carried his words to every corner of the massive structure. He announced that the humans would face their first challenge against creatures that had killed dozens of previous arena victims. 6 massive gates around the arena perimeter began to open slowly. The crowd fell silent with anticipation as dark shapes moved in the shadows beyond each entrance. Jake felt his crew tense beside him as they prepared to face whatever horrors the Corvins had chosen for their entertainment. The first Zereth hunting beast emerged from the nearest gate, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The creature stood 8 feet tall at the shoulder with 6 powerful legs ending in razor-sharp claws. Its dark fur was marked with glowing stripes that pulsed with each heartbeat. 5 more Zereth beasts followed the first one onto the arena floor. They were pack hunters from the jungle world of Telos 4, where they had evolved to bring down prey much larger than themselves. Their yellow eyes fixed on the humans with predatory intelligence that promised a quick and brutal death. The Corvan spectators had seen these creatures tear apart warriors from dozens of different species. Most arena victims tried to run or fight individual beasts in single combat following the honor codes of their civilizations. The results were always the same, with scattered body parts decorating the sand within minutes. Jake raised his hand and made a series of quick gestures that his crew recognized from their military training. They immediately spread out in a defensive formation that the Corvins had never seen before. Instead of preparing for heroic individual combat, the humans moved like a coordinated hunting pack. Ben circled to the left, while Amy moved right, keeping their energy pistols ready but not firing. Yet, the other crew members positioned themselves to create overlapping fields of fire while Jake studied the Zereth beast, looking for weaknesses in their attack patterns. The Lade beast charged toward Jake, expecting the human leader to meet its attack with sword raised like a proper warrior. Instead, Jake dove to the side while Ben and Amy opened fire from different angles. The Zereth found itself caught between 3 directions of attack instead of facing a single opponent. Amy used her technical knowledge to notice that the beasts' glowing stripes dimmed when they were injured or stressed. She called out this information to her teammates, who immediately began focusing their attacks on wounded animals to prevent them from healing or regrouping. The Koven crowd began to murmur uneasily as they watched the humans use tactics they had never seen before. These mammals were not fighting with honor or glory, but with cold, calculating efficiency that treated the arena like a battlefield. Instead of a place for heroic combat, Ben spotted a pile of broken weapons near one of the arena walls and signaled to his teammates. While the others kept the Zereth beasts busy, he quickly gathered metal fragments that could be used as improvised throwing weapons or traps. Jake coordinated his crew's movements with hand signals and whistle codes they had developed during their exploration missions. Each human knew exactly what the others were doing without needing to speak aloud. Their coordination was perfect in a way that confused and disturbed the watching Corvins. When one of the beasts managed to wound crew member Danny Phillips on his left arm, the entire human formation immediately adapted. Instead of leaving the injured man to fight alone, they created a protective circle around him while continuing their systematic attack on the remaining creatures. Amy improvised explosive devices, using power cells from their equipment combined with metal fragments Ben had collected. She threw these makeshift grenades to herd the beasts into positions where her teammates could attack more effectively from cover. The Zereth hunting pack found itself facing prey that refused to follow the normal rules of arena combat. Every time they tried to isolate a single human, the others would coordinate to rescue their teammate while inflicting damage from unexpected directions. Ben used his military experience to identify the pack leader among the beasts and focus the crew's attacks on that target. When the Alpha Zereth fell, the remaining creatures became confused and easier to defeat as their coordinated hunting behavior broke down. Jake grabbed a spear from a fallen warrior's remains and used it to keep the largest remaining beast at a distance while Amy flanked it from behind. Their teamwork was so smooth that it looked like a choreographed dance of death that left the Corvan audience stunned into silence. The last Zereth beast fell with Amy's energy blast burning through its skull from close range. The 9 humans stood in a defensive circle around their wounded teammate, breathing hard, but all still alive. The arena floor was covered with the bodies of creatures that had killed dozens of previous victims. High Imperator Zekmoth stared down at the scene with growing unease. These mammals had not fought like any civilized species he had ever conquered. They showed no individual heroism or honor code, but instead treated combat like a survival problem to be solved through cooperation and tactical thinking. War Commander Vexville felt a chill run down his spine as he watched the humans tend to their wounded teammate while maintaining watch for new threats. Their behavior reminded him of something from Corvan legends about the ancient predators that had once hunted his ancestors. On their homeworld, the crowd remained eerily quiet as they tried to process what they had just witnessed. The entertainment they expected had turned into something else entirely. These strange mammals had revealed a form of warfare that challenged everything Corvan civilization believed about proper combat. Amy helped Danny bandage his wounded arm while Jake studied the arena layout, looking for advantages they could use in future challenges. Ben collected useful equipment from the dead beasts and checked their remaining ammunition and weapon charges. The humans had won their first arena battle, but they knew this was only the beginning. The Corvans would escalate the challenges until they found something that could break the human pack tactics. Jake gathered his crew together to plan for whatever horror would come through those gates next. Somewhere in the silent crowd, a Corvan citizen whispered a question that others began to repeat. If these small mammals could destroy Zereth hunting packs so easily, what other capabilities might they be hiding? The arena that was meant to humiliate the humans had instead planted the first seeds of fear in Corvan minds. High Imperator Zekmoth paced in his viewing box above the arena floor. The humans had been resting for 2 hours since their victory over the Zereth hunting pack, but the Corvan leader could not shake his growing unease about these strange mammals and their unusual fighting methods. The crowd had been murmuring nervously since the first challenge ended. Citizens who came expecting easy entertainment were now discussing the implications of what they had witnessed. The humans had destroyed creatures that typically killed arena victims within minutes, yet they had done so without losing a single member of their pack. War Commander Vexville approached the High Imperator with a suggestion. Perhaps they should send in the gladiatorial champions immediately instead of continuing with the planned progression of challenges. The humans needed to face opponents who could match their strange tactical thinking with superior individual combat skills. Zekmoth agreed and gave orders for his finest arena warriors to prepare for immediate combat. Champion Gorthik would lead the attack, supported by 5 veteran gladiators who had never known defeat in hundreds of battles. Surely these honorable warriors could restore Corvan pride and demonstrate proper combat techniques. Down on the arena floor, Jake studied the terrain while his crew rested and tended to Danny's wounded arm. The sandy surface was marked with blast craters and bloodstains from their battle with the hunting beasts, but the metal barriers and rocky outcroppings remained intact for use in future engagements. Amy checked their remaining energy weapon charges and found that they had used about half their ammunition during the first fight. Ben inventoried the improvised weapons and tools they had gathered, including metal fragments that could serve as throwing knives or trap components. The crew had learned to work together during 3 years of deep space exploration where equipment failures and unexpected dangers required creative solutions and perfect teamwork. Their military backgrounds provided tactical knowledge, but their exploration experience taught them to adapt quickly to unknown challenges. Jake gathered his team in a tight circle to discuss strategy for whatever came next. He suspected the Corvans would escalate the challenge level significantly after their first defeat. The Empire's reputation depended on proving that human tactics were inferior to proper Corvan combat methods. The arena gates opened again, and 6 massive Corvan warriors strode onto the fighting surface. Each gladiator stood over 8 feet tall, with muscles like steel cables and natural armor plating that could deflect most energy weapons. They carried traditional Corvan weapons designed for honorable single combat. Champion Gorthek led the group, wearing ceremonial armor that marked him as the greatest fighter in the Empire's gladiatorial system. His warhammer could crush stone, and his shield had never been penetrated by any opponent's weapon. He had killed over 300 challengers during his career. The Corvan crowd roared its approval as the gladiators took position in the arena center. These were the finest warriors their civilization had produced, and their victory would restore faith in the proper order of galactic civilization, where strength and honor determined the outcome of all conflicts. Gorthak pointed his massive weapon at Jake and issued a formal challenge in the ancient Corvan language. The translation appeared on screens around the arena, calling for single combat between the human leader and the champion gladiator according to traditional rules of honorable warfare. Jake studied the 6 alien warriors and made tactical calculations based on their equipment positioning and apparent skill levels. He responded to the formal challenge by making a gesture that the translation system could not properly interpret, but which clearly indicated rejection of the proposed combat terms. The human crew immediately spread out across the arena floor, using the same pack tactics that had proven successful against the hunting beasts. They refused to engage in individual duels that would play to Corvan's strengths while ignoring human advantages in coordination and adaptability. Ben moved to flank the gladiators from the left, while Amy positioned herself behind a rocky outcropping, where she could provide covering fire. The other crew members spread out to create multiple angles of attack that would prevent the Corvans from focusing on single opponents. Gorthek roared his fury at the humans' refusal to fight with honor. He charged toward Jake, expecting the mammal to meet his attack with raised sword like any proper warrior. Instead, the human leader dove behind a metal barrier. While his teammates opened fire from 3 different positions, the gladiators found themselves under coordinated attack from opponents who refused to follow the established rules of arena combat. Energy blasts came from multiple directions, while improvised explosive devices forced them to constantly change position to avoid being surrounded or trapped. Amy targeted the joints in the Corvan armor where the natural plating was thinner and more vulnerable to energy weapons. Her technical knowledge allowed her to identify weak points that the aliens had never bothered to protect, because previous opponents always attacked the heavily armored chest and back areas. Jake used the arena's environmental features as weapons in ways the designers never intended. He triggered sand traps that caught gladiator feet and activated energy fields that forced the Corvans into positions where his teammates could attack more effectively. The humans treated the arena like a 3-dimensional battlefield where walls could be climbed and barriers could be used as launching points for aerial attacks. Their tactical thinking incorporated elements that the honor-obsessed Corvans had never considered as legitimate combat techniques. Ben improvised weapons from arena debris and gladiator equipment to create tools suited for the specific challenges they faced. He combined metal fragments with energy cells to make shaped charges that could penetrate Corvan armor at close range. When Gorthek finally managed to corner Danny near the arena wall, the entire human pack immediately converged on that position. They abandoned their spread formation to rescue their wounded teammate, even though it meant exposing themselves to increased danger from the remaining gladiators. The champion found himself fighting not one opponent, but an entire coordinated unit that moved with perfect synchronization. Every time he tried to land a killing blow, another human would interfere with attacks or diversions that disrupted his timing and balance. Amy used her energy pistol to superheat the metal handle of Gorthek's war hammer, making it impossible for him to maintain his grip on the weapon. The champion's greatest strength became useless when he could no longer wield his traditional tools effectively. Jake coordinated the final assault on the gladiator champion using tactics borrowed from pack Hunting strategies that prioritize group survival over individual glory? The humans attacked from multiple angles simultaneously until Gorthic fell under their combined assault. The remaining 5 gladiators found themselves facing opponents who fought like nothing in their experience or training. The humans used psychological warfare, fear tactics, and environmental manipulation to turn honorable combat into something resembling a nightmare scenario. War. Commander Thexvol watched the systematic destruction of the Empire's finest warriors with growing horror. These mammals were not just using unusual tactics, they were demonstrating a completely different philosophy of warfare that challenged the foundation of Corvan civilization. When the last gladiator fell, the arena fell silent except for the sound of human breathing and the distant hum of the facility's energy systems. 9 small mammals stood victorious over the greatest champions the Corvan Empire could produce. High Imperator Zekmuth stared down at the scene with the growing realization that he had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not entertainment. They were a glimpse into a form of warfare that could threaten everything his people had built through thousands of years of honorable conquest. The crowd began to whisper questions that had no comfortable answers. If human pack tactics could defeat individual Corvan champions, what would happen if these mammals ever organized themselves into larger military units? The arena that was meant to demonstrate superiority had instead revealed vulnerability. High Imperator Zekmuth stood in his viewing box, staring down at the arena floor, where 9 humans remained victorious over his finest gladiatorial champions. The crowd of 1 million Corvan spectators sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had witnessed during the past several hours of combat. The ancient ruler felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest and warfare. Fear was creeping into his thoughts as he considered the implications of human pack tactics applied to larger-scale military operations. These mammals represented a threat unlike anything the Empire had encountered before. War Commander Thexvol approached with visible nervousness, replacing his usual confident demeanor. The boarding action against the human exploration ship had seemed like a routine capture of inferior creatures, but now he understood. They had stumbled upon something far more dangerous than expected. Zekmuth made a desperate decision that went against every principle of Corvan civilization. He would unleash everything the arena possessed simultaneously in one final challenge that would either destroy the humans or prove conclusively that they represented an existential threat to the Empire. The High Imperator activated every system in the grand arena at once. Automated defense turrets emerged from hidden positions, while energy fields created deadly barriers across the fighting surface. Blast doors opened to release every remaining predator species in the facility's collection. The arena floor became a chaos of multiple threats as mechanical weapons systems tracked human movement, while alien creatures from a dozen different worlds poured through entrance gates. Environmental hazards activated randomly, creating zones of extreme temperature, radiation, and gravitational distortion. Jake felt his crew tense around him as they found themselves facing an impossible combination of dangers that no arena victim had ever survived. The Corvans had abandoned any pretense of fair combat in favor of overwhelming force designed to crush the human threat through sheer destructive power. Amy quickly analyzed the tactical situation while Ben assessed their remaining weapons and equipment. The crew had expended most of their energy weapon charges during previous battles, and their improvised tools would be inadequate against automated defense systems. The first wave of alien predators reached their position, including creatures with energy weapons, natural armor, and pack-hunting instincts. Simultaneously, the arena's defense turrets began tracking human movement patterns. While charging their weapon systems for lethal strikes, Jake realized that conventional tactics would be useless against such overwhelming opposition. The humans needed to think beyond normal combat parameters and treat the entire arena as a complex system that could be manipulated rather than simply fought against. Ben spotted that the automated turrets were programmed to avoid hitting the released predator creatures. This created opportunities to use the alien animals as mogul cover while maneuvering across the deadly arena floor toward more defensible positions. Amy discovered that the environmental control systems responded to biometric readings from arena occupants. By mimicking the physiological signatures of different alien species, she could trick the arena into creating safe zones or redirecting hazards toward their enemies. The crew began moving as a coordinated unit through the chaos using their knowledge of human pack hunting strategies adapted for technological warfare. They turned the arena's own systems against each other while using predator behavior patterns to predict and avoid threats. Jake led his team toward the center of the arena, where the control systems for all automated defenses were located in a heavily shielded bunker. If they could reach those controls, they might be able to turn the facility's weapons against the creatures hunting them. Danny Phillips, despite his wounded arm, proved crucial in the final assault by using his engineering knowledge to identify power distribution patterns that could be disrupted to disable sections of the arena's defensive grid. His technical expertise complemented Amy's tactical analysis perfectly. The humans moved through the mechanical and biological chaos, like ghosts, using every advantage their pack coordination could provide. They helped each other through energy fields, climbed over defense barriers, and created diversions that allowed wounded team members to reach safety. Ben reached the control bunker first and used improvised explosive charges to breach the armored entrance. Inside, he found alien technology that controlled every aspect of the arena's operations, from life support to weapons. Targeting systems. Amy joined him at the control console and began systematically turning the arena's systems against the creatures and automated defenses that had been trying to kill them. Turrets that had targeted humans now fired on alien predators, while environmental hazards activated in areas clear of human presence. The Corvan audience watched in horror as their ultimate arena challenge became a demonstration of human adaptability and technological intuition. The mammals were not just surviving impossible odds, they were taking control of the facility that was supposed to destroy them. Jake coordinated the final phase of their survival strategy by dividing his crew into teams that could monitor different sections of the arena while maintaining their defensive perimeter around the control bunker. Their pack tactics had evolved to incorporate advanced technology. Within an hour, the arena floor fell silent as the last alien predator was eliminated by the facility's own defense systems, now under human control. The 9 mammals stood victorious in the center of a killing field that had been designed to prove their weakness and inferiority. Imperator Zekmuth stared down at the scene with the terrible understanding that his empire had awakened something that should have been left alone. These humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were apex predators who could adapt to any challenge. The crowd of Corvan spectators began filing out of the arena in complete silence. Citizens who had come for entertainment were leaving with nightmares about small mammals who fought like incarnated death itself. Word would spread despite official attempts to suppress information about the event's war. Commander Thexvo quietly approached his ruler with a recommendation that shocked the imperial court. The humans should be released immediately with a ship capable of returning them to their home territory. Any further contact with their species should be avoided at all costs. Zekmuth agreed without hesitation. The arena that was meant to humiliate humanity had instead taught the Corvan Empire a lesson in fear. These mammals possessed capabilities that could threaten the stability of galactic civilization if they ever organized into larger military units. Jake and his crew were escorted from the arena without ceremony or explanation. They were given a fast courier ship loaded with supplies and star charts showing the route back to human space. No announcements were made about their release and no records were kept of their departure. The journey home took 3 weeks, during which the crew had time to process their experiences and discuss the implications of their survival. They had demonstrated human capabilities to a galactic empire in ways that would have far-reaching consequences for Earth's future. Captain Morrison filed his report with Earth Command upon their return, but most details were classified at the highest levels of government. Official records stated only that first contact with the Corvan Empire had resulted in mutual agreements to respect territorial boundaries within months of the arena Incident reports began filtering through galactic communication networks about a warrior species that fought like nightmares. The stories were dismissed as rumor by most civilizations, but the Corvan Empire began implementing new protocols for avoiding contact with human space. Amy returned to her duties as a tactical officer, but found herself thinking often about the moment when an entire alien civilization had learned to fear humanity. Ben continued his security work while training other crews in the pack tactics that had saved their lives in the arena. The Grand Arena on Corvan Prime was quietly closed for renovation that lasted several years. When it reopened, the facility focused on sporting events rather than gladiatorial combat involving captured enemies. The Empire's appetite for such entertainment had been permanently damaged. Jake accepted promotion to Admiral and spent his remaining career preparing Earth's defenses for the day when humanity might face the Corvan Empire, again under different circumstances. He knew their survival in the arena had bought time, but also revealed capabilities that could not be hidden forever. The story of 9 humans who survived the impossible spread through space and whispered conversations between traders and explorers. Most species dismissed the tales as fiction, but a few began studying human behavior patterns with new interest and growing concern about what these mammals might be capable of achieving.